Hello, hello, good evening, good evening. Right, so we're finding a new space, literally, right on YouTube, but also just a new time in the week for the lives. So thank you so much for tuning in, y'all. And so for tonight's chat, I just really hope that you're ready to talk about some math, okay? When we're talking about math, one of the goals overall is to be super clear that no, it's not just numbers, it's not just in the classroom, it's life. And if math has ever felt like a fight to you, I'm here to help you work on your offense and your defense, okay? So think of it this way. So, classroom life, we're cutting down on excuses, disruptions, and those protests about when are we going to use this? When is this going to be useful in real life, right? We're cutting down on all of that. And then at home, we're putting the chocolate and the belt away, right? During homework time. No more frustration, anxiety, etc. Or as the young people say, no more crashing out behind if Johnny had 5 apples. Okay. All right, y'all. So please do in the chat drop what is the most, I'll say, creative. What's the most creative excuse your student or your child that you've just heard, period, from a young person? The most creative excuse that you've heard about why someone didn't do math. Listen, over the years, I heard some things. We're way past dogs eating homework, way past that. You know what? Although that did happen one year where a student in real life, they brought the homework though. They had shown their work, they had selected answers, but it was torn like in half from where they had to fight, well, in a couple pieces, more than a couple, where they had to fight to get it back from their dog. So I'll just say ask some questions, check it out, because you might be surprised. They may be telling the truth about something within homework in that dog. But while you're thinking, while you're typing, you all, here's a few of the things that I heard. So someone said, okay, Mrs. Jones, things just went crazy when I started working on those problems and looking at those numbers. I must be allergic. What? I was saving my brain power for the test, so I didn't want to waste it all on the homework. Madam and sirs, what? I solved one problem and I got it right, so I figured I was good. If they didn't say it out loud, a lot of young people have thought it, I promise you. So, especially in this time of assignments and things being online, well, I was just waiting for the Wi Fi to come back on. It was out. Okay, so some bonus points for some of the kids for their creativity out there. But don't worry, we're going to tackle not only these excuses, but again, just these perspective things, right? Just talking about math mindsets. So, parents, a lot of times I hear from you all that my child gets frustrated with math and shuts down, right? When they get that point where it's not making sense to them, they're not progressing through the problem, they shut down. And honestly, in a lot of parents, that causes its own set of emotions and behaviors, right? So we know Johnny and his apples, again, it can be hilarious, a little bit of a joke, but also like a haunting phrase where we've heard a lot about that. Okay. So I don't even know. I don't even know what kind of math they're doing now. I hear this a lot. This is the new math, right? A lot of parents say that. So, really quickly, the short version is a lot of parents were taught what to do and how to do it, but the young people are understanding the why behind it. That's my quick comment on that, because we're going to say a lot about it as we build out these series and these lives through the weeks. But that's the quick answer. The young people are going to understand the actual concept, why the math works, why this is the thing that we do. Okay, the why, which if you've heard a lot before, that is definitely my favorite answer, was my favorite, this is my favorite question, and my favorite question when I was in the classroom as well. Why? Because it promotes deeper thinking all the time. So, also from some parents will say, well, you know what? I was never really good at math myself. Pause and time out, you all. I would be remiss and out of order if I didn't say this. I hope you're listening. Y'all, stop saying that. Stop saying that to, around, or in a space where your young people can hear you. So your math experiences and math life doesn't equal theirs. It can be very different and in a positive way, right? So What I want to say is, again, they'll need that encouragement from you and that positivity from you. And don't worry, right? Holistic Fluency will be here for continued support. We're doing some lives and we have some resources coming out even later this month that'll help you feel more confident, even when you don't know yourself. So lock in, be ready for that. Okay. Next, educators, talking to y'all also. A lot of conversations with you all go something like, okay, Anika, I'm trying to close these gaps, but I have to keep my students engaged. Y'all, it's spring semester now, right? It's go time. It's when a lot of districts, campuses, schools start counting down realistically for the high stakes test, state level test that's given at the end of the school year. So a lot of adjustments start being made for that. So class starts looking and feeling very differently. It may not be as hands-on, as engaging, but the reality is the kids still need that. You still need that. So how do we do that while still closing gaps? We're going to talk about that. So speaking of gaps, one of my favorite things to talk about and spend time on is vertical alignment and strategy for filling in the gaps. Y'all, do y'all know that from grade to grade? I'm talking about math, but I'm sure it exists in other content, that there's gaps in the standards. Let me give you like a quick example. So I'm in Texas. So thinking about Texas life, a kindergartner in Texas is supposed to know how to maybe add and subtract within numbers that equal up to 10, right? And so they count, that's usually about when we have them start counting to 100, around there. Then when they get to first grade, they're supposed to be able to kind of do some combinations of numbers and count past 120. Okay. Then when they get to second grade, guess what it jumps to? To 1200, to be able to say, okay, what's something greater than, what's something less than, what's equal to. They're doing a little bit of addition and subtracting. And so what happens for a lot of young people, if the last thing I really locked in with you on is counting to 100, y'all, what comes after 100? A lot of adults are like, well, duh, Anika, 101. Guess what the young people say? 200, 300. So just that understanding of just the patterns in numbers. So that is why we're locking in early. Again, some quick tips, some small adjustments for big gains in 2025. Okay. That's the goal. And that was between kindergarten and second grade. Just a quick example for one standard. So you can imagine as we really sit down and build out grade level by grade level, standard by standard, right? Just the flow from kinder all the way through high school. Can you imagine? So yes, there are some prerequisites and some things that we have to fill in. So that's a lot of our favorite things with educators to discuss. But again, no worries. Holistic Fluency is going to have some more lives and coming out with some resources to support with that vertical alignment for sure. So summarizing, if you've ever looked at your child's math homework, you got a homework paper back and it's like, okay, they're just trying to confuse us. Y'all, listen, you're not alone, but the key is in understanding every single method. It's building the right mindset about it. And so then educators in the task, with the task that we have of continuing to develop students' mindsets about math, that includes making mistakes, connecting concepts to everyday life, and understanding how topics build on each other throughout the year and from year to year, like I just talked about, right? You all, this is those are the two big things, right? If it's getting their mindset together on both ends and just making sure it's a true partnership and working together, okay? And so if you've heard of Rita Pearson is a very renowned and respected. She passed educator, a thorough educator, right? It was in her blood, but she also would talk about a lot of mindset things. So instead of, if there was a 20 question test, right? And if a child missed 18, and a lot of us might have seen some of this on some of our papers sometimes, minus 18, right? All in red written. But we could also choose to put +2. Maybe you got 18 wrong, but you also got 2 right. So Just making sure that we're emphasizing the positive to encourage them from there to say, okay, let's build on this. You didn't get them all wrong, right? Let's build on this. And the reality is that this is going to require some of us adults to retrain and shift our default thought patterns as well. If we are super serious about supporting these young people, it's going to require a shift, truly. So one of the main things is, y'all, math, again, is more than just solving problems. It's about resilience, about confidence and creativity. So let's give ourselves and our kids the tools that we need to thrive. So here's a few things I wanted to share with you. Again, small adjustments for big impact. One of the first things, if we're talking about math at home without stress, with less stress for sure, right? Without the belt, without the chancla, number one, shift your language. Shift your language. So instead of what comes next, we can say, what's one more than? What is one greater than blank? What's one more than blank? It's all about using the words that match how kids will hear it at school. And we might say, okay, they mean the same thing. True. Absolutely. But we know that even as we speak in everyday language, there's different ways to say things. It might mean the same thing at work, but that doesn't mean we say it the same way at home. Same kind of thing, right? Y'all, and if they roll their eyes and they're like, why you can't just say it normally? Why you just can't say it regular, right? Remind them that this is math, right? This is math. So we're not just having a regular conversation, a casual conversation. We're handling business right now. So again, one, shift your language. Two, y'all, make it fun. Make it fun. So it could be anything from using snacks, toys, laundry piles. Even the socks on the floor, okay, can become a math lesson. So counting by tens while folding clothes. Listen, I count it as a parenting and a teaching win. Y'all let me know what you think, okay? I'm just saying. So number three, y'all, encouraging their confidence. Again, that's a big piece. Not just when you know and feel confident as their adults, but either way, encouraging their confidence. When your child says, I'm bad at math, counter with, knowing you're still growing your math muscles. You're still growing your math muscles, right? So this is about building that growth mindset, one positive word, one positive phrase, one positive instance at a time. And finding the feeling to insert yourself like, yeah, me either. I wasn't really, don't do that. We're not doing that. We're not. All right. You all, listen, the next one, ask the teacher. Now, listen. I understand that this one is loaded. It can be loaded because, again, depending on what your math experience, your math life, your math journey is like. But remember, I told you earlier that your math journey does not equal their math journey. So when you want resources and tips and things to practice at home, ask the teacher, what can I be doing to help Anika more? How can I support her more in her number sense? But let me say this, double check though, because a lot of educators, especially today, y'all are super thorough. They probably already communicated some tips in a newsletter they sent home via Class Dojo, right? And an email. So please double check first, but keep appropriate lines of communication open. That's always a good thing. All right. So parents, that was for you, y'all. And again, you know what? And I'm saying that like, yes, they may have communicated it, but no teacher is going to be like absolutely bent out of shape. Like, I don't believe they're asking me what they can do to help. That's not going to be the reaction. They're going to send you what you asked for, right? Because it's y'all student. Y'all are locked in. It's a partnership. That's y'all student for sure. So yes, ask the teacher. Y'all, for educators, okay, so we're working to close these gaps, but yet keep the students engaged. So one, we need to anchor math in real life. A lot of times we like to go ahead and start rolling on the lesson, start rolling in the skill, but don't just teach the skill. Show them and not just tell them, but show them why it matters. For example, if we're talking about budgeting, right? They're learning about the phrases and vocabulary, deposit and withdrawal, because that's a big thing for financial literacy. We're planning this field trip and the teachers had to set a budget. So field trip, what? Everybody's locked in. right? So why it matters. So budgeting can apply to a field trip, or we're talking about area perimeter. We're talking about the basketball court in PE class. Y'all make the connections with them, anchor it in real life. So I also want to say, don't be nervous about social media. I'll say, don't be nervous about social media. Some of the trends are rated G, okay, and they can be tailored some. Y'all remember that 5, 6, 7, 8 challenge where you counted from 1 to 8, right, for several rounds, and you had to drop off the previous number, like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 2, 3, 4. Y'all saw that one, right? So imagine anchoring that in our one more and one less, right? Especially for the little. So we're helping them practice. Then I bet they were doing that challenge, right? So just anchoring and let them know that no, that's really how it works. Truly, that's really how it works. So someone says it's so important to change that mindset that I'm bad at math. Yes, and you know what? And the thing is, we all learn different kind of ways. So the reality is our young people are actually taught almost in a personalized way because teachers study different strategies, use different resources, different techniques that speak to so many different learning styles, y'all. That again, just because maybe your math experience wasn't the most positive, it wasn't what you wanted, that does not equal your young person's journey, right? All right. So we talked about anchoring math in real life educators, right? And not being scared, perhaps, of some of the social media trends, right? If it makes sense. Enough of them are rated G. Number 2, incorporating SEL. Now, y'all know that social emotional learning is still near and dear to my heart, so that it wasn't going to go far at all. So when we're incorporating SEL, thinking about it from this perspective, we know that at certain points when you're learning, you're going to get frustrated. We know that. So first, just helping to build that expectation for them, like, hey, believe it or not, when you get frustrated, that means that you're on the peak. You're right on the edge, right on the cliff of learning, because this is a big moment. Your brain is trying to make a connection. So what do we do now? Right? The shutting down versus let me continue to explore. Let me continue to try to understand and make sense of it. Right? Like if we know someone is frustrated, we know a young person is frustrated, first we're going to validate their feelings. So I see that this is hard for you right now, but we're going to tackle it together. Let them know that you're right there with them working through that and that you understand. So as adults, sometimes we have our superhero cape on / almost like the Wizard of Oz. But the reality is we've struggled with some math, right, at different levels, all of us at different points. But we're teaching them resilience, and it doesn't happen overnight. Again, it's one instance at a time. So don't leave them hanging. Make sure that you're trying it with them, right? Have them share what they know, right? That's your starting point. Ask questions in a leveling up, a scaffolding type of manner. And once you know what they understand, y'all build them up from there to help them make the connections. So what's 1 greater than 7? Okay, let's count, but we'll pay careful attention to what we say after 7, right? Once you count through, they get there. So what number did you say? Yes, 8. So 8 is 1 more. 8 is 1 greater than 7. So building them up and then also reinforcing with visuals. And in this case, that would be a number line or maybe some items or some shapes, right? So definitely teaching resilience. The reality is math is almost a natural resilience teacher, just learning, period. But for a lot of people, math is that thing. Math is that subject, right? Where you're like, you're going to have to practice it more than maybe you practice other things. Maybe you thought you had it, then this one problem tripped you up a little bit. So the more tools that we're giving them to deal with it, to have a strategy to work through, then yeah, they're going to be resilient. They're going to build that resiliency. Next, collaborative learning. So listen, how many times have you tried to say something in the classroom, maybe a few different ways, right? And the kids are like, maybe, right? You'd be like, thumbs up, thumbs down, sideways. And there were a lot of sideways or even doing a little bit of a wave, like they were almost there, but not fully. Collaborative learning, let them learn from each other. When students explain concepts to their peers, everybody wins. They're going to say it in not just kid language, but they're going to have an example that is so appropriate for their age level, that is so on point, relevant, all the things they're going to remember. It's going to lock in. So let their peers explain concepts, right? Everybody wins. We know as educators that kids are more likely to listen to their friends, right? When their friends are talking than the teacher sometimes, be real. Okay. And then the more they explain, whether they're explaining verbally, visually, or written, y'all, the better for each and every one of them in the room. The better for everybody, right? Video explanations. Y'all remember that these are kids who grew up with Ryan, etc. Like YouTube has definitely been a part of their development. It has. So the idea, maybe you can position it as the idea of creating content. So leveraging that for some video summaries, right? Hey, Anika, I need you to give me some hacks, right? About a challenging part, something that was hard when we were multiplying fractions. Okay, Anika, do you have some final tips if another student needed some help, right? With the one more, one less. What would be some tips you would give them? Ooh, what was your big takeaway? What was your Anika's math moment today? What was the big thing that made sense for you, that clicked for you today? Plus, you are a video portfolio. It's super powerful when it comes to not just sharing progress regularly, but just communicating with parents, right? Very powerful things. So, y'all, this is your time. If you have any questions or stories you want to share them in the chat now. We can problem solve through them together. Some questions while y'all are thinking we can talk about. Sometimes some questions people have are, well, how do I really help my kid when they say they hate math? Now, the hot take, people want to say, no, you don't hate math, or stop saying that. Well, yeah, you do want them to stop saying it, but be calm while you're addressing it, right? So while you're telling them, okay, well, I understand that sometimes math can be difficult for you, but why do you say you hate math? Because it might be, well, I'm not understanding, or, oh, I'm never going to use it. And we just talked about on the parent side and in the classroom about some ways, and just really starting to lock in and think about ways to make sure we are taking that excuse off the table, right? If we're anchoring it in reality, in real life, then that question goes away. So if it was, oh, I don't feel like I'm a user, there's just something else to do, but the more they see that they're using it, then the attitude changes. But be clear, that's going to be something, again, that changes over time. It's not going to be immediate, because it wasn't immediate that it came out that way, right? So maybe a question is, and especially thinking about this age, right? This is more, the lesson today was more so about for the preschoolers with the one more, one less. So what is the best way to introduce counting backwards? Now, listen, I do love me a Gracie's Corner, right? If y'all have never watched Gracie's Corner, the beats go hard for sure, right? So Gracie's Corner has some songs about it, but let me caution about the songs. So I'll give some tips, but also some cautions. So a lot of times people do like to sing songs to help children remember the order of things, or, we use a number line and different visuals. We can put some tape down, right? And even play in the kitchen. It could be like right here, right? If I had a little person, I would put some tape down and make a homemade number line. And we would actually practice and see the counting backwards. Now, the caution about singing songs all the time is that it becomes more of a sequence, right? It becomes more of a sequence thing versus a true understanding of the relationship of the number. Like if we talked about one more, one less, one greater, one lesser, it's just the next part of the song, right? Miss Anika, that's how I know what comes next. It's just the next part of the song. So it's not a true connecting with the relationship versus, oh, it's a sequence, I'm just putting it in order. That's a little bit different when it comes to math. And we see that it shows up as the kids get older because they don't really understand, oh, it's just what came next when I was working on it, when we sang the song in kindergarten. But no, I need you to understand that the value is more, or that the other value is lesser. So again, being careful. The songs are great, but let's also anchor them in visuals and anchor them in real life. We said also, right? We could using money if we're going to anchor it in real life as well, right? The snacks, the socks. We talked about a lot of examples today. Okay, so I'm not saying no to the songs, but with some other things as well. All right. So in closing, y'all, math does not have to feel like a chore. I hope that you have some takeaways from today that you like, okay, Anika, I can put the belt away, I can put the chocolate away, okay? That there's just some small adjustments, really, and some positive reinforcement, y'all, and a little creativity that can go a very, very long way. So if you're looking for more ideas, make sure that you follow us here on Facebook, on IG, and on TikTok. Right, clearly we're everywhere, but make sure, y'all, because we have a very special resource that's coming out soon, a math talk toolkit coming out later this month. All right, so I hope that you hit the share button, tag a fellow parent or educator, or both, little stumps, right, and let's build math confidence together. So thank y'all so much for tuning in. Anika S. Jones signing out. See you next time.